It's unpleasant to be attacked by zombies. But it's even worse when they attack you right in the middle of a flight on a fancy plane, and you can't escape from them. Let's find out if it's possible to escape from such a deadly trap. A plane is flying in the sky. This is a regular passenger flight from Los Angeles to Paris. Flight attendants Stacy, Megan, and Emily communicate with each other and are glad that there are few passengers on board. That means they can sleep and then walk around Paris. However, Emily refuses this walk because she has too much work to do. A thunderstorm is raging. Thunder is rumbling and lightning is flashing. One pilot tells the other that they are carrying a special cargo. He is accompanied by an armed guard. In case of any problems, they should contact Dr. Bennett, Dr. Sebastian, and Dr. Thorpe, who are flying in first class. The mysterious cargo is in a large box. The guard is wearing a gas mask because there is some kind of smoke coming out of this box. Dr. Bennett, Dr. Sebastian, and Dr. Thorpe are arguing furiously on board. They're afraid of losing a woman named Kelly. It seems that they are doing something illegal to save her, and they know very well what is in the baggage compartment of this plane. Flight attendants deliver food and drinks. One of the passengers asks for a rum with a naked. His name is Frank, and he's flirting with Megan. Frank's neighbor's name is Boris, and he's more calm and polite. Emily brings coffee to the pilots. It turns out that Captain Ray is retiring after this flight, and his assistant Randy is secretly in love with Emily. Passengers dream of getting to Paris as soon as possible. Two couples in love are arguing about what they will do on vacation. They get bored and start playing with the ball. Soon, the stewardess takes the ball away from them. A famous golfer named Billy Freeman is on this flight. His wife Anna really doesn't like the increased attention from fans. She orders herself another Bloody Mary cocktail. It turns out that Frank is a prisoner, and Boris accompanies him to Paris for a court hearing. Frank insists that he is innocent of anything, but Boris does not listen to him. The weather is getting even worse. Pilots can get into the very epicenter of the storm and want to change the route a little. They warn passengers about entering a turbulence zone. The plane starts shaking violently. Everyone is buckling up, including the flight attendants. The fastenings on the boxes with the secret cargo break, and they all fall to the floor, injuring a guard in a gas mask. There is a message about a corruption in the system, and the largest drawer begins to open. Meanwhile, an emergency meeting is being held at the Pentagon. It turns out that the military is looking for 4 people, including a virologist named Dr. Bennett. Together with Dr. Kelly Thorpe, he developed a new malaria virus. But they got something else. They synthesized a virus that first destroys a living organism and then brings it back to life. An unknown liquid is leaking on board the aircraft. A red-haired woman gets out of a large box. She feels very bad, and she doesn't understand what's going on. This woman is tormented by some terrible visions. She starts crying and screaming loudly. The wounded guard raises his weapon. Many shots are fired, but the woman manages to hide. Bullets damage the aircraft body. The pilots find out about the problems in the cargo hold and call the dispatcher, but there is no communication on board. The red-haired woman screams that she needs help, not a bullet. She says her name is Kelly Thorpe and she is a scientist. The woman sobs and repeats Dr. Bennett's name. The guard pulls the trigger again, and Kelly falls to the floor, but at the same moment disappears somewhere. The guard shouts furiously. The passengers on board are a little nervous. Several guys stare at the pretty stewardess Stacy and arouse the jealousy of their girlfriends. Another couple in love decides to retire to the toilet. Flight attendant Megan is scared by one of the passengers. He behaves very strangely, and the girl asks him to return to his place. The plane enters the turbulence zone again. Everything on board is shaking. Lightning flashes in the sky. People are panicking. Suitcases are falling from the upper shelves. The pilots begin to descend, and soon it becomes quiet and calm again. The flight attendants return to the cabin and tidy up. Freeman's wife hit her head hard and is very angry. Couples in love are fighting again and almost start a fight. Stacy calms them down. Pilot Randy finds Bennett, Sebastian, and Thorpe and asks them to check the luggage compartment. Men immediately start to panic. They go down to the luggage compartment with Randy. Frank wants to go to the bathroom. Baruz is supposed to accompany him, but accidentally bumps his head into a luggage rack and loses consciousness. Seizing the moment, Frank runs away. Baruza finds Megan and treats his wound. She contacts the captain and informs him that there is a prisoner named Frank somewhere on board. Baruz is looking for him everywhere. The thunderstorm doesn't stop. Randy, Thorpe, and Sebastian get into the luggage compartment. There is no electricity and no communication. And yet, for some reason, there is no guard here. But there is an open drawer. The scientists panic and notice Kelly in front of them. However, she is no longer a human, but a zombie. Kelly attacks Thorpe, and the zombie guard attacks Sebastian. The couple in love from the plane wants to have fun again. Only this time not in the toilet, but in the office. Stacy notices them and drives them to their seats. The flight attendant doesn't know yet that Frank is hiding here. Randy gets out of the luggage compartment, notices Dr. Bennett and shouts furiously at him, and then returns to the cockpit. He asks Captain Ray to change course immediately and send the plane to land at the nearest airport. But you can't just land a plane. It's not that easy, especially during a storm. Besides, there are problems with communication. One of the strange passengers communicates with the pilots, learns about the trend of a creepy story about zombies on board. Burroughs complains to Megan that he still can't find Frank. Turns out that this man stole $35 million, hijacked a plane and crashed it. The Canadian Air Traffic Control Office detects the movement of the Concorde 239 aircraft, but cannot contact it. It turns out that the Canadian government has received an order from the United States not to allow this aircraft to land in this country. A strange passenger is talking to Dr. Bennett and wants to find out what is in the cargo hold. Turns out that his name is Paul Jott, and he is an employee of the U.S. Federal Service. Bennett doesn't tell him anything. Paul finds Burroughs and says that Frank is probably in the cargo hold. The men take their weapons and decide to go down there. They notice red spots on the floor and walls. The plane starts shaking again. Paul climbs into the vent and Burroughs does the same. There, Paul notices a zombie, but he manages to escape. Another zombie rushes at Burroughs. Paul tries to save him and pulls the trigger. The bullet pierces the ceiling, flies into the cabin of the plane, and hits one of the passengers. Emily contacts the captain and tells him about the shots. Kelly rushes at her. More precisely, it's not Kelly anymore, but a zombie. Now Emily is infected too. Randy doesn't have time to save her. One of the passengers runs to the toilet because she is sick. It seems to her that there is someone in the toilet. At this moment, she is also attacked by a zombie. There are more infected people every second. There is a panic on board. People are trying to help the wounded, not realizing that it is very dangerous. After all, even one small scratch can turn a person into a zombie. Megan contacts the captain and begs him to land the plane as soon as possible. He agrees and flies through the storm. The flight attendants are buckling up again. Emily's zombie attacks Randy and then attacks the other passengers. The plane enters the turbulence zone again. More and more zombies are entering the salon through large holes. Freeman grabs his golf club to fight off the monsters. Soon he notices Paul and Baruz. They are also still alive. The rest of the passengers are much less lucky. Stacy also turns into a zombie and wants to bite Megan, but she is suddenly saved by Frank with a fire extinguisher. The Pentagon is holding a regular meeting. They know that there is no vaccine for the new virus. It was supposed to be a new biological weapon to create super soldiers capable of fighting in any environment. The infected have superhuman abilities, and they are also almost impossible to destroy. You need to blow up this plane in the air to save all of humanity. The surviving passengers are desperately fighting for their lives. Prayers won't help here anymore. The only survivors are Freeman and his wife, Anna, Baruz, Frank, Paul, and Megan. Everyone else is a zombie now. Very aggressive and hungry zombies. Randy knocks on the cockpit and shouts that he is injured. The captain lets him in, and it's his big mistake because Randy is infected. Baruz, Frank, Paul, and Megan successfully fight off the zombies. Everyone decides to forget about Frank's crimes for a while, because only together they can escape. They are barricading themselves from zombies in one of the compartments. There's a noise coming from above. This is Freeman and his wife. So we have 6 surviving heroes and a plane without a pilot and captain. They don't fall because the autopilot is working, but soon the fuel will run out, and then the plane will definitely fall and crash. There is another problem. A military fighter appears nearby. He's ready to use homing missiles. The surviving people make a homemade bomb and arrange a small explosion on board. They manage to get rid of a large number of zombies. Now our heroes need to give the fighter a signal that there are still people alive on board this plane, so you can't fire a missile at it. But this can only be done from the cockpit. Some people make their way from the back of the plane to the cockpit. The fighter cannot contact the Concorde pilots and is preparing to strike. Freeman gets bitten, but manages to defeat several monsters before he too turns into a zombie. Anna helps her husband. She gets bitten too, and Anna uses an umbrella as a weapon. To prevent the monsters from capturing himself and his wife, Freeman opens an emergency exit, and most of the infected fly out of the plane. Frank and Bruce reach the cockpit, deal with a couple of zombies, and try to disable the autopilot, as well as signal the fighter, which launches the first missile at them. In the end, they succeed. They fly away from the trajectory of the rocket and maneuver, warning the fighter that there are living people here. The fighter pilot presses the cancel button. The rocket explodes far from Concorde, but close enough to the plane so it punches a hole in the hull. All the zombies fly out. Frank and Bruce try to control the plane, but crash into a mountain and make an emergency landing near Las Vegas. The surviving people are walking towards the city. The problem is that some zombies also survived the crash and are also heading to the city.